Hello and welcome to day 4 of the Menagerie bonus previews. Today we are looking at an event, Alliance. This is the second 10 cost event of or in Menagerie that's been previewed, the first being Populate. And with this event, when you buy it, you gain a province, a duchy, an estate, a gold, a silver, and a copper. This should be pretty obvious, but as Donald X pointed out in his text about it, you don't have the option to not gain any of these things. You just get them, unless obviously any of the piles are out, in which case you can't gain them. But yeah, in the majority of cases, you're going to be getting all of these cards. I guess I could see the most likely things that you wouldn't get, I guess, are probably Duchy and Estate. Like I can't imagine you'd be buying Alliance if the provinces are gone. I mean, I guess if you only have one buy and you need to maximize your points, that might be the way to do it, especially if Palace is on the board. But okay, let's stop talking about edge cases and start talking about how good this is overall. So I think it's actually pretty good. So getting just in terms of like sort of dollars for points, getting 10 points for 10 coins is very efficient. By comparison, Colony gives you 10 points for 11 coins, and the province, duchy, and estate are all correspondingly less efficient. Now, obviously, the difference is that those are all consolidating those points into a single card, whereas Alliance is spreading those cards, or spreading those points out across multiple cards, which is not a good thing in the vast majority of cases. So that is certainly a downside. But I do think like the fact that you get a bundle of points in one go is definitely relevant. If you think about, under normal circumstances, when you want to be able to buy province and duchy, because just buying a province isn't enough to do what you need to do. You need to hit 13, and here you only need to hit 10, and you get an extra point on top of it in the form of an estate, which again, I mean, may not actually be a good thing, but just in terms of the point value, right, that's pretty strong. But then in addition to the green cards, you also get the money. So I think, people might look at this and say, see estate and see copper and go, I don't like that. But really, I mean, if you take sort of the average of it, so the three you've got, well, I guess this is going back to the victory cards part, but you've got 3 victory cards, and you're averaging 3 1/3 points per victory card. So it's kind of like getting 3 duchies in that respect. It's better than getting 3 duchies, but not like a lot better. And then you get gold, silver, copper, which averages out obviously to silver. So I think the gaining of the money, even though like copper is in general not a good card, I think is usually going to be a positive for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you're in the greening phase, getting some non-green cards with your green cards means you're increasing the density of green in your deck less than if you were just gaining the green cards. So that's good. Also, it means that if you have a really strong deck in terms of draw, this can actually be a way to add payload, right? A gold, a silver, and a copper, that's 6 coins. Hey, if I have 10 and I buy Alliance and then I gain 6 coins and now I have 16 money in my deck, that means I can double province next turn, right? I mean, there's a lot of caveats to that in terms of, well, you just added 6 cards to your deck and can you still draw it and blah, blah, blah. But just for what it's worth, I mean, it is a way to add province add payload while you're greening. And I think that could be pretty nice. And just even if the situation isn't quite that, straightforward or clean, adding a silver on average to your deck is good in a deck that is trying to green and isn't necessarily drawing itself and is just sort of going along. If you have a sort of like just straightforward, province per turn money-ish deck, adding a gold, silver, and a copper, I think, putting aside the green cards, just adding a gold, a silver, and a copper all at once is better than adding none of those cards. And I think adding a gold, a silver, and a copper is actually better than adding 3 silvers in general. I think that having like the different denominations is good, specifically because the gold. I think gold copper is generally better than silver silver. It undoubtedly depends on what the composition of the rest of your money is, but yeah, getting the gold is really nice. Um, so so I think that's actually an upside on net. Like even though you would like if you could take this and cut out the estate and the copper, obviously that would be fantastic and that would make this generally better. But I think that that downside is worth it to get the upside of getting this like package deal so efficiently. And that's to say nothing of the possibility that, for example, you have a watchtower and you can trash, the estate and the copper, or that you can draw well enough that you can do one alliance and then you have some trasher and you trash the estate and the copper, like that kind of thing is certainly possible. But even if you're just, you're just going to shove all these cards into your deck, I think that the net effect is positive there. Like that from the money in the aggregate, and then like when you combine that with the fact that you're getting, green cards, I think this is good. So I guess the question is, okay, so I think overall this is good, but is it something you want to do like every time you hit 10 when you're greening? Well, probably not. You like if let's say that you're you have like a working you have working draw and you're gain limited. And so you're like, okay, should I take alliance, the first time I green, or should I just province? Probably a lot of the time you should just province because you want to be able to reliably do so. And when you take alliance, like the first time, it probably will decrease your reliability. But then like after you've gotten a few provinces, taking it will probably increase your reliability once you've stopped drawing your deck anyway. And you just need to be able to find payload cards without necessarily like drawing through your whole deck to do so. So I can definitely see it being the case that you go like, province and then alliance, or maybe one province and then alliance, or, depending on, like what exactly your deck composition looks like. But I think if you have a deck that is more of a money-ish deck and is just like gonna sort of buy province, like without ever trying to draw a deck or something like that, then I think you probably do just take alliance as soon as you can and as often as you can. I think it's just straight up good in those contexts. In the case where you have something more potent going on with your deck, where you have the potential to have multi-province turns and that kind of thing, I think then it's really just going to depend, and it's just going to be a very tactical decision of like, how much overdraw do I have right now? How many stop cards can I afford to risk adding? Can I thin down the junkier part of this or not? Do I need the payload? Like, do I want the gold? Is that going to help me? Or is it actually just going to act as an extra stop card and I can't really make use of the money? Like, and it's really hard to evaluate that in a vacuum. But overall, I think it's a strong event. I think it's going to see a lot of play in the games that it shows up in. All right, so that'll do it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for another one. Until then.